You know, your liver is one of the most important organs you have. I mean, you're only as healthy as your liver. So today, we're going to dig into Dr. Berg's analysis and find out about 7 surprising foods that could be seriously messing with it. And trust me, some of these might really surprise you. So let's treat this like we're detectives, okay? We're going to peek behind the label on some of those everyday foods and really ask what is actually hiding in our pantries. I have a feeling the answers are going to be pretty shocking. So let's get into it. But before we jump in, let's just quickly remember why this is so darn important. I mean, your liver, it's an absolute powerhouse. It's not just some random organ, it's your body's #1 detox center. It helps you digest food, helps your blood clot. Basically, it manages your entire health. So yeah, protecting it, that's not even up for debate. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at what's going on with protein powders. Then we'll get into the real story on sugar, pull apart these so-called vegetable fats, and uncover some toxins that are hiding in plain sight. And don't worry, we'll wrap up on a high note by talking about what you can do to protect your liver. All right, first on our list, protein powders. You see them everywhere, right? Marketed as the ultimate health food. But what if some of the stuff inside is actually working against you? Let's pull off the mask and see what's really going on. Okay, so the first ingredient we're looking at is soy protein isolate. And what's wild is how they make this stuff. See, to get the protein out of the soy, they often use a chemical, hexane. And get this, it's a byproduct of petroleum. It's a known neurotoxin. That means it can damage your nervous system. Definitely not the kind of thing you want your poor liver to have to deal with. And this isn't just some theory. Dr. Berg tells this pretty powerful story about patients he saw who were on a diet that was heavy on soy protein isolate. And yeah, they lost weight, but he said they just didn't look healthy. And even worse, a bunch of them started showing signs of serious liver inflammation. I mean, that's a massive red flag right there. Next up, let's talk about whey protein. The big issue here is how processed it is. Think about it. In nature, like in milk, protein and fat come together, right? They're a team. But with whey powder, they strip all that fat away, leaving this super concentrated, isolated protein. It turns out, when you eat protein without its natural fat buddy, it can actually cause inflammation and could even be toxic to your liver. You know, Dr. Berg even talks about his own experience with this stuff back in high school. He was chugging these shakes packed with whey protein and another sneaky ingredient we're going to get to in a minute, and he ended up getting super sick. It's just a great reminder that more protein isn't always the answer, especially when it's this processed. All right, let's switch gears and talk about our second culprit, sugar. And look, this isn't just about calories. The key thing to understand is that not all sugars are created equal. Your body processes them totally differently, and some of them put a huge amount of stress directly on your liver. Okay, so check this out, because this is where it gets a little sneaky. Fructose, right? It has a super low glycemic index, only 19, while glucose is way up at 100. So you'd think, hey, that's great. But here's the twist. Glucose can be used by pretty much your whole body for fuel. Fructose? No. It gets sent on a one-way trip almost exclusively to your liver. And that direct shot can lead to a fatty liver, even though it's a low GI sugar. Crazy, right? And the thing is, fructose is everywhere. It's the star of the show in high fructose corn syrup, which, by the way, usually comes from GMO corn that's been sprayed with glyphosate. You'll find it in agave nectar, which can be a whopping 70% fructose. Even plain old table sugar is half fructose, half glucose. But wait, there's more. Get ready for the real shocker here, maltodextrin. This stuff is a synthetic sugar and its glycemic index is, well, it's completely off the charts. It's actually higher than pure sugar. We're talking a score of 110 to 119. That is a monster spike for your blood sugar and a massive hit for your body to take. And you won't believe where this stuff hides. They use it as a filler in vitamins. It's in those gels you take after a workout. It's a bulking agent in Splenda. And this is the one that really gets me. It shows up in foods that are labeled keto-friendly. Seriously, it just goes to show you absolutely have to become an ingredient detective. Okay, let's move on to culprit number 3. These so-called vegetable oils. I mean, the name itself sounds healthy, doesn't it? Vegetable oil. But the reality couldn't be more different. Let's break down what's really in that bottle. So here's the big misunderstanding. When you hear vegetable oil, you might be thinking of, I don't know, spinach or kale oil. But no, that's not what they are at all. They're actually made from grains and seeds. We're talking corn oil, soy oil, canola oil. And the process to make them is intense. You're left with these really processed, fragile omega-6 fats that are famous for creating a ton of inflammation in your body. And get this, the amount we're eating is just staggering. Dr. Berg points out that the average American eats about 70 pounds of these oils every single year. 70 pounds, think about that. Our bodies are literally using these inflammatory fats as building blocks. And you can bet that's going to have some serious consequences down the line. Okay, now for our last category of things to watch out for. And this one's a little different. We're talking about actual toxins, stuff that's hiding in plain sight on grocery store shelves. Some are naturally occurring, some are man-made, but all of them are bad news. First on this list is something called aflatoxins. It sounds complicated, but it's basically a nasty toxin that comes from a type of fungus. And it's a known carcinogen that specifically goes after your liver. Now, this fungus loves wet, humid places, which is why you find it most often in two specific foods, peanuts and corn. But here's the good news. You're not powerless here. There are things you can do. For peanuts, try to find the Valencia variety. They're grown in drier climates, so the fungus doesn't have a chance to grow. Going organic with your peanut butter is another smart move. And, probably the biggest one, just try to avoid corn and anything made from it. And last but not least, MSG, monosodium glutamate. Dr. Berg points out two huge problems with this stuff. First, it's what's called an excitotoxin. That basically means it gets your cells so worked up that they can actually get damaged, and it's especially harmful to the liver. And second, it's literally designed to make you eat more. It messes with the signals in your brain that tell you you're full. And here's the tricky part. Companies know people are looking for MSG on the label, so they hide it. It can show up as modified food starch or a whole bunch of other names. It's in everything from fast food to pork rinds, even some cottage cheese. So I know I sound like a broken record, but you've got to become that label detective and read every single ingredient. Whew, okay, that was a lot of doom and gloom, I know. We've talked about a lot of stuff to stay away from, but the whole point of this is to empower you, right? So now let's flip the script. Let's stop talking about what to avoid and start talking about what you can embrace to really help your liver thrive. And you know what? The solution is actually pretty simple and delicious. According to Dr. Berg, the absolute best friends your liver can have are cruciferous vegetables. I'm talking about arugula, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all that good stuff. Seriously, just adding more of these to your diet is one of the most powerful moves you can make for your liver. So there you have it. We've pulled back the curtain on sketchy protein powders, sneaky sugars, inflammatory fats, and hidden toxins. Now you have the tools. You know what to look for on those labels. So the real question is, after hearing all this, what's the first thing you're going to change?